pattern. We have spoken about this, but pattern comes from the Indo-European languages from pater, that means the protector, the one that holds, that protects. So that's why the origin of father is pater, the name father, which was the one that protected the family. The pater familias is the one that took care of the group, of the tribe. As you may see, pater is not a name related to dad. It's related to the one that protects. But then, after that, in the families, in the past, they used the concept of pater to refer to the man that was taking care of the family. So that would be the reason why pater become the way in which you call dad. So when we speak about pattern, we speak about things that protect us, things that makes us feel safe. All these defenses that we start to create, these patterns that we create, we start to put one over the other to create like a barricade, to create like a house, like a place where we can take care of our weakness, protecting ourselves from the outside. And all this began in a time where we had no order in our lives. We had no governments, we had no society. It began in a moment where we needed these shields to protect ourselves, because the animals could kill us and eat us. The people that were hunting there can hunt us too. It was so complicated, so difficult, that all we could think about was to protect ourselves. Everything that we start to put one over the other, all these things around to protect ourselves, is the ones that we call patterns. The thing is that we had so many different kind of patterns. Patterns that we have, they are structured in physical, emotional, and mental. For example, one pattern that we all have and that is physical is to dress up, to have clothes. Why? Because we felt that we were vulnerable in the ancient times, so we need to protect ourselves, because the body was so weak that we need to protect the genitals, the chest, the belly, everything, because of the weather, because of the animals, or whatever. So we started to create these coats of leather. We started to create these tissues around us to cover us. This created the idea that I will be protected if I dress up. And that's what created the culture that by dressing up with, depending on the color, depending on the ways you dress, the texture, whatever, it depends in one thing or another, protecting ourselves from the weakness that we have inside. When we go to the emotional level, all the emotional patterns are created because of the tribes. Why? A tribe it's a Latin word that comes from tribu. Tribu is like a group of three. Sometimes the cities were divided in three, or the families were divided in three main subjects, individuals. This tribe is related to mom, dad, and the kid living together. In order for the tribe to survive, they need to create these bonds, emotional links. You could be all together, because if they split as family, they would get killed, or they would have less opportunities to survive in the nature. So they created these links between each one of them so we could survive. So for example, in the ancient times, you would have some fear the sunset, because there was a real threat outside, which is, I don't know, a big tiger, for example. The tigers can kill you because they see in the night and we cannot see in the night. So this family, this tribe settles this pattern that when the sun is in the horizon, we go all to the cave and nobody gets out. Thousands of years later, we have the same problem that, I don't know, our family says, it's night, you're not gonna go out. And you say, but why? I have this conflict with my dad or my mom, arguing with them because they don't let me go outside during the night with my friends. And they said, no, because something could happen to you, you know? So that's a pattern. That's a very old pattern since the time that we lived in the caves. And that still goes on. So that's an emotional pattern that we have with the links that we created to survival. Then we have the patterns of the mind. And the patterns of the mind, for example, we have many patterns of the mind here. Like, for example, we have, for sure, most of you here working in the consciousness. Some of you make yourself call light workers or light warriors. But why? That it's a pattern. That is a pattern because the pattern comes from very old existence, very old reality, which is that humans live through light. That in ancient times, humans wake up at the sunrise. When there's a sunrise, the light comes, so you can work again, harvesting or so on. So you follow the light, the path of light through the sky. So you say, I am following the light. And the other ones were hunting. They were to hunt, so they were light warriors. And this is an idea that we have been receiving since the very beginning of humans being light workers and light warriors, because we were following the light of the sun. But this doesn't work in other planets. This doesn't work for the people that is living in the depth of the ocean, for the animals that only go out during the night. This is just a belief that we have. Everything that we do, that we express, is a belief. Everything that we do is a pattern. Everything that we do is a pattern, yes, because in the physical, in the emotional, and in the mental, every pattern of belief that we have has been created since the very moment of the creation, thousands and billions of years ago, just trying to survive. And what is a pattern? Something that protects me. Patterns were made to protect yourself so you can still be alive. From this point of view, are patterns something wrong? No. From the point of view of Capricorn, the patterns are no bad. The patterns are the clue, the reason why we exist. If the earth wouldn't have created all these patterns, we wouldn't have survived. We wouldn't have been here. It's because of all these patterns through millions of years that the Capricorn energy has been creating for us through thousands of years, very patiently, putting one pattern, the other pattern, and trying to make it perfect so we can be, yes, the essence is protected by all these patterns. So patterns are no bad. It's okay. All these patterns are connected in a network. This network is the one that we call matrix. The matrix is network of patterns that helps us to connect with everyone outside. It wouldn't be because of this network of patterns, the matrix that we are creating, we wouldn't be able to speak one another. For example, you are there and I am here because we are full with patterns. Otherwise, you are not gonna be able to understand me and I wouldn't be here. When someone doesn't have patterns, it's those kind of people that you cannot talk anything, or that we say it's crazy or it's lost or whatever. It's like you don't understand the language, you don't understand anything, you cannot resound. All these patterns in the matrix are the ones that helps you to connect on a network with everyone. So they are useful. We have been through a process in which patterns and matrix has been treated like very in a negative way. I don't know where it started. I don't know what was the point where people started to take this as a bad thing. But the problem of patterns and matrix is because we don't know how to use them. It's not the patterns and matrix. It's because we don't know how to use them. That's the main problem that we have. The gathering of all these patterns, of all these tools, is what we call a structure. A structure is something, a structure comes from the Latin word struere, that means to put many things together. And a structure is to put all these little tools that we call patterns all together in a way in which you can feel stability, to find stability in your life, in whatever. So patterns create structures of thinking. This means that we are basically a structure of beliefs, that everything that we have in our minds, in our reality, the way in which we live, is constantly a network in a matrix that is structured with many patterns of beliefs. Let's go now into something that I spoke a long time ago, which is the perception of things. Everything that you perceive, every senses, the touch, the sight, smell, everything is not real. It's just a perception of your brain interpreting data from the outside. But it's not really what you are feeling or perceiving. It's what your brain is believing or thinking. Acknowledging this, we will recognize that everything that is in the outside is just a perception of the inside. So what this means, that everything that I am using to protect myself from the existence is just an idea of my mind, a perception. So this is that the network of patterns is not much more than other thing than a network of beliefs. If all this is a network of beliefs, the only possible thing that really exists is the one that believes. And who is the only one able to believe, to be a believer, is the mind. Mind is the only one. So basically everything that exists in the universe, every structure and pattern and network is a product of an illimited mind, eternal mind, that decided to limit itself. Why an eternal, illimited mind would find limits? Basically, the reason why it looks for limits is because an illimited mind, it can only imagine but cannot create, because it doesn't have patterns to create. A limited mind, and by limited we are speaking about patterns, is able to manifest the thoughts. So basically, the existence, this is possible because of the structures and patterns of Capricorn. So why do we say, I want to get rid of my structures and patterns in life? The reason why we are willing to break with all these patterns is because there's a moment when living inside a house that everyone has been saying, you have to be here protected, don't go outside because the house is the only one able to protect you. And there's something inside that says, no, but I want to open the door and go outside and to play, to see things, to watch, to travel, to have new experiences. I need to do that. We usually have this conflict when we say we have to get rid of the patterns. When we have this house where we were stuck inside and we want to go outside, the image, the energetical image that we can see when we say I have to get rid of the patterns, is like if one day you just figure out that, oh my God, I now know that there is a world outside my house. So in order to see that world, I will take away the windows. I will break the windows, throw it away. I will kick the door. I will break the door, set fire to the door and the windows. And then also I go to the bed and I threw the bed on the balcony and put fire on it. I go to the kitchen, there's the grandma, and I take the grandma and kick the grandma through the window, and I also burn with the fire. That would be the image of taking your patterns away. No, that wouldn't work like this. The only thing that you have to do in order to get rid of your patterns is just to make a copy of the key of the house and just open the door, go outside, go on a trip, and then you come back and everyone will be there and you can sleep in your bed, kind of like that. What Capricorn would say is, don't break the door of the house, don't break the windows, don't burn the grandma, okay? Because they have a meaning, they have a purpose there. If you want to go somewhere different, to do something different because you are so tired of being in this house, you can go out, you can have some Sagittarius friend and make a trip around the world, and then you can come back and you will have everything here. And you know, when you go, I don't know if it happens to you, but when you go outside in a trip, you can see your life, your hometown, your family from a very different perspective. You can see your home, your house from a different point of view. That's why if you burn the house, if you just take it all into ashes, you won't have your roots, you won't have your tools. So this is why throughout all this month, what we are going to do is to go through all these structures and patterns that we have created and that we maybe want to burn and to break and to get rid of it, but that we have to understand why it worked and why we have created, because we created everything through our minds. And that is the first law and the unique law of the universe, mentalism, which is everything that exists in this reality, in every reality, is just a perception of the mind. That's mentalism. The last thing that I want to say about mentalism is that maybe we can make the mistake of thinking that the beliefs that through the mind we can create everything, that through the mind we can do whatever we want, and that we can, just by thinking or putting the intention on it, you can create anything you want. But it's not like that. And that's what we are going to learn also through the Capricorn energy. It's not about just thinking, we have to go deeper into the structure of the creation, because from the point of view of Pisces, maybe it's about to just think and imagine and all will happen and everything is possible. But from the point of view of our month today, it's all about, okay, we are here in this reality, we have a lot of structures, and you cannot create something from the beginning if you are the product of so many patterns and you have no idea what patterns are they. So you have to look for all the patterns, to be in peace with all the patterns, to acknowledge the structure, to see the tools. You have so many work to do that let's work on it. Humans organize information from the beginning to the end. So we kind of organize like that. But it's not exactly like this, in which the universe creates. There is no one first or the beginning. There's no second, third on appearing. Basically, there's only one law, which is the mentalism, and inside of it we have different aspects that we call the principles of the universe. Those are the Hermetic principles of the universe, but they kind of appear all at the same time because they are echoes of only one, which is the mentalism. The reason why we organize them is because we are humans. That's the only reason. So we can understand them better. Yesterday I didn't talk about this, but just to understand who was the one that spoke and explained about this information, he was Hermes. Hermes is the god of communication, the messenger in the Greek mythology. Hermes is the one that was the communicating between heaven and earth, between the gods and the earth, and also the earth gods. He was the one understanding all the concepts of the divine in other levels and how to download it here into the matter. That would be Hermes. In Roman mythology, we call him Mercury, and in Egyptian mythology, we call it Thoth. But Egyptian wouldn't say Thoth. That was misspelling of Greek people. The name was Jahuti. Jahuti was the one that understood the laws of the universe because he said that everything was created in principles, numbers. He was a mathematician that understood that numbers were projected into geometry, so he became an architect to understand it. And also everything that exists, biology, is geometry, so that's why he also was the god of medicine. He was the first physician. He understood how to heal through the music, through the numbers, through geometry, through building. And he wrote the principles of how everything was created. He called that the laws of the universe. So that's what we are talking about. He was the one that did the design to build the pyramids, for example. And of course, the concepts of the principles that he was teaching is the Hermetism. And that's why they created these schools that was only for a few people. They were like closing these teachings for a few. And that's why they call it the Hermetic school, because it was closed. It was Hermetic because of Hermes. So we would say that the second principle of the Hermetism is the correspondence. So sometimes one of the questions would be why this is for just a few and it was closed to the people. In Atlantean times, education was open to everybody, but then we started to have these problems with the population that they started to blame the priests and the priestesses because they were connected with the gods, but there were problems in the earth. So to blame the priests and priestesses of if they are speaking with the gods, why do we have these problems? So they started to persecute the priestesses. They started to emigrate and to migrate and to close the schools. They were persecuted and trapped and killed in many cultures. So that's why they would hide themselves and they would just make some public tests. So they would see who was really with the aptitudes to go into those schools so they could go to these schools. So that's why after thousands of years, they were persecuted, killed by many. Like, for example, the Christianism killed so many that thought differently in the Hermetic way of thinking. Islam too, many of the main religions were persecuting them. So that's why they closed too. That's why they closed everything. We see now why they are so closed, but of course, they have been thousands of years trying to escape from being killed, basically. These people, it doesn't matter the social level of the people that were studying, if they were poor, if they were rich, it doesn't matter. But there was a moment that in order to survive, they needed to be side by side with the rich people, like the kings, like in the republics, presidents, and so on. So they needed to have people with a lot of money so they could survive economically. So that's why they started to make these selective groups. So one of the things that they also did, the reason why they were so closed to anybody, is because they were very very focused and we want to do this and teach this. We are not going to waste energy with people that doesn't really care. If you want to really do this, you will have to work for it. That's it. For example, the Hermetic people, the ones that are teaching all this, they sometimes they say, I don't want to waste my energy in people that they don't want to listen, or they say this should be free for everyone and so on. Because usually when you really want to do something, you have to work hard for it. And there's lots of people that don't want to waste their own energy on trying to reach people. They just want to bring their energy into what they have to teach to those people. And that's perfect because they are taking care of their own energy. It's like the Hermetic people. They are taking care of it. They don't want to waste energy in other people that they don't want, that they are not, deeply connected with the teaching. So that's why they close it. They take the energy like this is a school, so you have to get inside the school with a prescription. You have to pay, okay, and that's just to take care of the energy. So it's perfect. It's perfect for the people that go straight. For example, here I don't do that. I don't shout because my mission is another thing. I don't need to take care of my energy in this way because my goal is to do this. So it doesn't matter. For example, I know that you are all here, many of you, almost the same amount of people constantly all the time, because you're committed to do this. You are here putting all the energy on doing this. So it's perfect. But for example, there are some times that I know that there's a lot of people watching that they don't want to listen or that they don't whatever. And sometimes there are some people coming that do bad comments or whatever because it's free, everyone can see, and some other people maybe just not respecting me or not respecting the people that are here listening, watching. Imagine that I would close this because I don't want to waste my energy in people that are just doing silly things around. I will do it on the campus and that's it, and you have to pay for it. That would be an option to close the energy and to take care of my energy. But I don't take care of my energy in this because I have other things to do. I do it in another way, and this is my mission. I don't care. So I don't care. I'm just doing this. So that's why I'm not hermetic in that way, maybe. Now, for example, if I say I have a conflict with people that is taking me from my axis, and the people that is bothering me in my life or whatever, what I have to say is, if they are bothering me, is because I have something inside that is not in my axis. The outside is just showing me what I have inside. It's just the projection of what I call correspondence. This means that whatever is happening outside, and I am looking into that, and is being observed by my brain, by my eyes, feeling what is happening outside, is interpreted by my brain. It's not really happening that, but my body, my brain, is focused and used to see only that thing because I am in the same symphony. What I am perceiving from the outside is according to what my brain knows in the inside. Everything that we perceive the outside is related to the perception of how our brain receives the information. For example, touch, smell, taste, sight, eyes, ears, hearing are the senses that by electrical pulses brings the information through the nervous system to the brain, and the brain decodes that information to transform it into a perception. Everything that happens outside is not real. Everything that happens outside is just the perception that you have within in your brain. So for example, we see this pencil, this pen, and we see it like blue. But the reason why we see it blue is because we have been evolving in the same biological structure all together through thousands of years. So we got used to see these kind of colors. But what happens if you are daltonic? If you see a different color, if you see this green, is it a lie? Because who tells that this is real? If something is seen by many people, it doesn't mean that it's real. Like, for example, religion, or the sky, we say it's blue, but it's not blue. So this means that through evolution, through thousands of years, we have been used and evolving in order to perceive the reality in a way, but it doesn't mean that it's really like that. It means that we just evolved to see it or understand it in that way. Our brain structures itself in patterns of perception. So now because of this pattern perception, now everything that we see in the world, we perceive it through the filters of these patterns. This is why everything that you see in the outside is not how the real world looks like. It's basically a projection of how you really are yourself. It's like a mirror of everything that you interpret within. As an example, this pen is real. This is something that is important to understand, because usually we do this mistake that we think about the correspondence like from the ego point of view. And the ego point of view is, okay, this pen doesn't exist only exists because of my inner perception. No, it's not that. The pen exists because it's atoms that exist all around of the pen. Is something that I have within, like the pencil is blue and it's used to write because I am used to write with a pen. But for example, a doctor maybe doesn't see this only as a pen, it sees as a tool to save someone in a tracheotomy or something like throat, to save life. It's according to the perception that you got in life, how you see the thing. That would be, for example, when you have the relation with the person, maybe that person that is real, that exists, makes something to you that makes you feel bad, but that person had no idea that he makes you feel bad. It's just he did something and suddenly you feel like very sad or mad with that person. The reason why you feel that is inside of you. The emotion is within you. We are perceiving that person with our own point of view of what makes us feel, not of what it is. The person is something, but we perceive that person according to what we think inside. And this is related to the main law of the universe. The law of correspondence is born because of the thinking, the mentalism. Everything that exists is because of the mind, and it means that everything is a projection of the mind. So that's why when you look into something, you are basically perceiving the things that you have within, not the things that are really there. So that's why the people that is pessimist, they see the bad things of the world. The people that is positive, they see the good things of the world. So this base of the mentalism through the correspondence starts to be spread in the whole reality, in the whole world, by fractalization. So that's why you might have heard about the idea of everything that is above, so below, everything that is inside, so outside, everything that is in the right is in the left, I don't know, in the microcosmos is in the macrocosmos, etc. So this conception, this idea of everything is corresponding to the other thing is because the universe was created by one thing that divided in two. So this one in polarity is corresponding to this one. So they start to make fractals all the time, and they start to divide and to replicate the shapes. Everything basically in this mathematics of the universe is a mirror to each other, so corresponds to each other, So that's the base of everything, the correspondence, but it's because of the mind projecting itself. The word correspondent means that everything is corresponding, and that's the origin of the word is correspond, the response of something, like the answer. This means that everything in the universe is answering, responding to something in common, correspond, something in common that we all have. That's why everything that you do, you receive it exactly as a response, as an answer through the reflection of the universe. That's correspondence. It's an answer that is shared. To have it more clear, is the I am who manifests the fractalization of all these responses. Yes, so correspondence, which is these shared answers in the universe, are created by the I am, and the ego, self, is the one that interprets those answers. It's not that me, the ego, creates this reality. It's the I am who creates all these realities, the answers, and it's the ego that has to interpret those answers. This is why we have the goal to understand better the answer. This is why the ego has the task to improve itself in the ways in which it interprets the answers that we all share. The law of variation. The laws are just only one thing that appears in the same time, and then to understand it, we just separate the only one thing in different concepts step by step, we could understand it better. Talking about this idea that all of the laws are basically the same thing, perceived in different point of views. So we would say that the law of vibration basically describes the way in which the factors that are being created interact between each other. As we said yesterday, we have first the correspondence, and this is that everything that is inside projects into the outside, and so when it starts to divide in different fractalization of itself, it creates also the so on, one side, the other side, everything starts to be like relative to correspond to the other. So the interaction of these two factors that are corresponding is vibration, is the way in which they interact. To understand this, let's go to the idea of the mind. The mind is like a pulse of ideas, like it works in our brain. Many neurons interact in each other constantly. This is like a one thought pulsing to the other thought, creating a network of beliefs, a network of thinking, which is this interaction between the neurons. Once we have this network, we start to create a structure, and this structure is moving because the thoughts were moving. It's constantly moving. The ideas are constantly moving from one spot to another inside of us. This movement that is created, when it structures itself into a reality, the structure still moves constantly. So when it polarizes in two shapes by correspondence, the movement of this one inside will push the other to move according to the correlation. This movement is the key that connects everything that exists in the universe. Everything is moving. Talking about also another law, which is polarity, that we are going to talk about is when the inside becomes the negative and the outside becomes the positive, it creates magnetism. And the magnetism starts to attract all the parts to one another. And this creates this kind of engine that moves the particles constantly, creating energy, constant energy. And these particles are not touching themselves. So they are hanged by the movement that their own are holding. They are vibrating so fast in this kind of vacuum. From the inside, when it creates this magnetism, the particles project into the reality. They will be interacting each other through this constant movement. This movement of the particles that starts to be expressed in the universe beats like a heart. It's like a constant heartbeat, like constant, that agitates the body of the universe. And this is exactly like in us, our heart. This station is called in Latin vibrio, vibratio, which is the action of being agitated. That's vibration. Vibration is the action of being agitated. What I said is that in the moment that the mind, the inner mind, projects itself into an action towards the outer reality, this movement that it generates creates the action of being agitated, which is vibration. So from this principle, we can understand that all the things are vibrating constantly. Now, we shouldn't make a mistake confusing vibration with sound. In a very simple explanation or example, this is vibration and this is sound. So basically, this hand can be vibrating without the need of doing a sound. So the reason why a sound is created is because of the movement of these atoms pushing the atoms of the air. If you have no air around, there's no sound. Why? Because the sound is created by the expansion of the friction that all the atoms are doing to protect themselves. They create like this energy that pushes the atoms of oxygen and hydrogen in the air, creating like a wave of energy that makes the sound. The sound is born by vibration, but it's not the vibration. First of all, the idea of this one vibrating makes this one other vibrate also. So they are in the same vibration. It comes because from the inside, this one projects this one other by vibration. So this one creating a pulse, and then this other reality is responding to this one like an echo, and that's what we call correspondence. Correspondence is the response of this one to the first impulse. So the relationship between these two is vibration, because it's the movement of this one that makes the other one exist and respond as an echo. The law of vibration says that everything in the universe is moving, constantly moving. Whatever it moves creates by movement the other one that will vibrate exactly the same. But we have different kind of vibrations, and according to the vibration that you are, you will respond to one or another, and that's what we call resonance. The resonance is basically a response, an answer to the original sound that was created, the original pulse of movement. Basically, every resonance is an answer of the main origin. So the resonance that we are talking about will be related to the state of vibration from the origin, and of course they will relate to the level of frequency, because frequency is the way in which the sounds exist. So that's the origin of all things. And so this is how from the beginning the wave starts to expand in the universe, and all of this is vibration. Everything is vibration. What is frequency? This is frequency. What is frequency? Frequency is how long it takes for a wave to repeat again. So for example, here we have that this takes a long time and this takes a short time to repeat. As wider is the frequency, the lower vibration. As shorter is the frequency, the higher is the vibration. So here there is nothing wrong. There is no good or bad. Here there is only vibration and frequencies. It's perfect. The reason why we are constantly saying we want or we need to vibrate higher in a higher frequency is basically because we have been a long time vibrating in a lower frequency. So imagine that this here, this low vibration, is like 9 centuries from the 900 DT to 1800. That's the pure time, like 9 centuries. And here, in this short period, it's only 20 years, from the 200, 2000 to 2020. Short period of time. In terms of evolution, of changing, happened much more things in these 20 years around the world than in these 9 centuries. Basically, this happened because most of the things in this period of time were very slow. We were vibrating low. It was low. And here, everything is faster because now we are vibrating higher. How can we use the high vibration to get out from systems that we were for a long time living in low vibration? But we can also say that these 20 years could have happened even much more worse thing that in these 9 centuries, for example, is much more intense. Also, we could say that in this period of time, all the bad things happen very fast, so we solve it very fast. And here, the bad things are for a long time. We have to live them for a long time. So by the principle of vibration, we cannot say that high vibration is good and low vibration is bad. It doesn't work like this. For example, if you vibrate very high, you can suffer a lot if you are not used to that frequency, because things happen very fast. So this is why our task is not about rise up the vibration to be in higher vibration. No, it's about understanding why we need to make our vibration higher, and to do that, we need to understand the law of vibration. The only reason why we are being asked or in the need to rise up our vibration is because we have been so many times living in the low vibration, which is the past. And this high vibration will be helpful only for the moment to get out of this. But then what we have to do is to find a middle point. For us humans, there is no stability in the high vibration because it transforms everything so fast that it can basically destroy us because we don't have the time to act. But the low vibration also doesn't help us because we are stuck and we are not being able to evolve. So I described today in the blog what I mean with being aware of the consciousness and not stay in the same vibration. Imagine that we are willing to arrive to this place, which is our destiny. I am lost here because there's so many mountains around, so many vibrations that I cannot find this place. It's impossible. Being here, I cannot go straight here because there are mountains, but also I had no idea if these are the mountains that I have to cross. Maybe there is a hidden path here that is better to arrive to this place than going like this. I don't have the map of how it is. There is this option that we can have, because if we don't see all the path, the option would be to go to the highest point and to see all the map, everything from above, and from there can now know the better ways and to see the spot where I'm heading to. So that's why you go up, but then in order to arrive here, you would have to go down the hill again, remembering the path that you design in your mind. This concept shows us that we have to rise our vibration to find the consciousness. And once you find consciousness, you go down acknowledging all the path so you can reach the place. So what is the method? There are thousands of methods, but the main one is to take distance, to go and look from another point of view, from another perspective, go farther and look beyond, meditate in distance. You can go to all the therapists you want to help with this, but the consciousness you will only achieve by your own will of going and see the things from another point of view, from another perspective. What do I have to do? I have to change my perspective. Otherwise, I will stay all the time here. You are here, and maybe you are here, is the question would be why you are here. And this is the other part of the law of vibration. You are here because you are vibrating low. That's why you're perceiving everything from the valley. So what you have to watch is why I end up here. Am I vibrating low? And in order to understand this, you have to see around. You have to pay attention to the environment. All the life that you are in, all the things that you attract to you are heavy. There are conflicts or are given tools. What do you think about the environment that you are in? Because that's what resounds with you. The things that you see, that you attract, that you resound with are the things that are in your own vibration. And just to understand this, in the universe, there is no bad and good. So the universe only organizes vibrations like a melody, tries to organize. Basically, the universe is putting everything that vibrates low with the things that vibrate low, just by organizing the song. So for example, don't go to your thoughts, go to what is surrounding you, because in your thoughts maybe you would say, no, but I am really a good person and I don't know why this is happening to me and all these bad people around me. You can be a good person but vibrate very wrong, because remember, to vibrate bad is not vibrate low, is not to be a bad person. Law of vibration. I cannot be in touch with anything that is not in the vibration as I do. Everything that I live is related to my vibration. To watch the environment and to acknowledge this vibration is not solved by living the environment. It's only solved by understanding why I have created this environment for myself. And I will give you an advice. And the advice that I would love to give you is pay attention to what I say, because it becomes your own reality by this law of vibration. To the universe, it doesn't matter if you are a good or bad person. For the universe, what really matters is that you are coherent. There is no such a thing as bad person or good person. There are people that is resounding and people that is dissonant. We have spoken about this. And I say about this, careful what you say, because I see in the comments and so on, a lot of people that put the question before the intention of finding the answer. I will explain what it means now. Questions like, for example, and how do I do this? Instead of saying, I will look onto how to do it. Or for example, when we say, I don't get it, or I don't understand it, instead of saying, I'm going to do everything to understand it, or I am in the process of understanding. Don't take this as something wrong. Take this as an advice, because we all have been taught this by culture. We all have been told. So we have been taught from the questioning instead of the will of looking. To be aware, to have consciousness, is not to know all the answers and to know everything. To be conscious is to have the will to move forward, to look for the answers. This is why the law of vibration tells us, be very careful to what you do, what you say, because whatever you express outside of what you are will come back to you according to what you are. And don't take this as the law of attraction. This, we will take it as the law of coherence. It's not about to have results in your life. It's about to be yourself the result. You have to put the intention of to see yourself in a beautiful way, to understand yourself in a better way, to have another perspective, to say, I am willing to do something different. And instead of saying, I don't understand, say, I am learning. Rhythm comes from the word flow in Greek. Rhythm means the flow and also gives origin to the word river. In our point of view, rhythm is the thing that helps us to understand the continuity of things, like the heartbeat, tum 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 tum, like this, is a pulse that tells us what is going to come next. So that's why we can know way before it happens what is going on. The rhythm would be this thing that helps us to understand from where we come from and where we are heading to. That's why we also call it the time, like in music, the tempos. The tempos would be like this, like these steps that you follow to understand the logics of music. So remember that in music, we have this holy trinity that we call rhythm and melody. And rhythm would be like the metric, the measurement of the duration of each one of the sounds and the repetitions, like pulses of the music. Then we have the harmony, that would be all the rest of the logic of the music, like the instrument, how they play, in which moment, the order of frequency, the hertz, the chords, everything. And then the melody, which is the music itself, what we use to sing, to listen, the most known part of the music. The melody and the harmony wouldn't have any sense without the rhythm, which is the one that shows the tempos, the moments in which you have to put that music. So we would say that rhythm is equal time. Remember, what is the other way in which we will know time? Like this. If all this is vibration, this is frequency. Remember, vibration is the whole wave of vibration, is the whole wave, and the frequency is the time that it takes for one of these curves to repeat again. As higher the vibration, the higher the frequency. As lower the vibration, the lower the frequency. If we see this through music, we would say that all this is melody, because it's like the melody is over what you hear from everything. The harmony would be the balance between the different parts. Yeah, that's balance. And then each repetition would be the rhythm. This would be the rhythm. Tum, 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 tum. Then the harmony would be the instruments starting to play in balance. And then the melody that would create the whole music. So now let's go even deeper in this analysis. If we start to see every curvature of the wave, we'll see that everything is a rhythm. Dun, 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 dun. This is the cosmic heartbeat. Dum, 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 dum. Or in the clock, we used to call this tick-tack, tick-tack, tick-tack. So it doesn't matter if you see it in this way, or in this way. This will be always constant of rhythm. What we see from here is that rhythm is not just an aspect inside the wave. Basically, the wave is the rhythm. So this is why this is a constant flowing of something that in Greek they call the flow, which is rein, and the concept of flowing would be rhythm, rhythmos. So for the ancient ones, rhythm was not this. Rhythm was a constant flow. This is part of that flow, but it's not separate, it's constant. For example, in Earth, we have summer, autumn, winter, spring, and this is like tick-tack, tick-tack, but 3 months, 3 months, 3 months, 3 months. What is this? It's the different expressions of a wave. And here is when we understand that time doesn't really exist as we believe, because time is basically the metric of a constant flow. The Earth doesn't stop one day and says, now is summer. No, the Earth, the summer is a process to appear. It's not one day. We are the ones that put dates to this flow. So we say here, we cut it and we say 21st December for the southern hemisphere, 21st December, 21st March, 21st June, 21st September, and so on. And of course, it's the opposite for the northern hemisphere. So we say days, but day doesn't begin in that. It's a process. So what happened in the wave? That in this wave, after spring comes again summer, and then autumn, and then winter, and so it repeats constantly like a wave. You see here, imagine that this is the earth. Can you see the earth moving like the waves? So when the earth is moving like this, creating, depending which hemisphere, the seasons, it creates a wave. So as you see in earth, we all know animal kingdom, vegetal kingdom, mineral kingdom, human kingdom. We all know that after summer comes the autumn, and so on, winter, spring, summer, autumn, winter, spring, summer, autumn, and it's constant. So through thousands of years of this repetition, we start to understand that we evolve according to cycle. We adapt on Earth because of this cycle, because now we know what is going to happen. So we evolve adapting to the next step. This is a systemic pattern. So this system is the one that helps us to be who we are. Without this system, we wouldn't exist. This is in a big picture, like the Earth. But when we go inside the body, we find the DNA. For those who live close to the equator, the process is much more like this. For those of the equator, this process would be called the dry and the humidity. Dry and humidity. As you see now, all the things that exist in different levels is because of the law. So we have this cycle of repetition. These are the two different waves that we live in, which is the DNA and the seasons in the planet. This is the one that we use constantly in our lives. We use it all the time because, for example, as an easy example, when it's summer but it starts to get cold and you see this wind different from the ones of the summer, you already know what is going to come, what is coming ahead. So you know the winter is coming. What you do is to prepare yourself, dressing different, to prepare your house, to prepare your environment, because the weather is changing. So you have to adapt. As you see, this preparation is not something that you have to think about. It's something that happens, that it's natural. It's a reaction that you have. Everything that is going to happen, like it's coming the winter. So you don't have to think, oh, maybe it's the solstice or the earth is spinning into this degree, and you don't think about all that and try to understand the whole process. You just say, oh, cold. You don't even think in winter. It's like getting cold. That's how we get used to the rhythm. In the DNA, it's happening exactly the same. When new things are coming, what I do is to just look into the things that happened to me before, and I react according to my experiences. So I get prepared for the things to come. I start to see all the same things once and again, the same people, the same situations, and I kind of know that is happening. Watching the earth, for example, even if we all know above the tropics that winter is something really bad because I can get sick, it's uncomfortable, I cannot survive in the streets, and we all love better the summer or the spring because we are more relaxed and so on. But in winter, what happened also is that we have good memories because we have Christmas, we have New Year, we can play with the snow. I don't know, depending on who will live the winter in a different way. But we can have this sensation that we can enjoy it, for example. So now we are going to the point with this. The same happened in our DNA. Imagine if all your history from your past, your grandmother or grandfather, whatever, they had someone at home that used to hit them, aggression. But that aggressive person is the one that brought the food, like a dad or like a mom, whoever, people that brought the food at home. So my DNA understands aggression equals food. So I can survive with aggression. So in the future, I will find constantly a repeating process of aggressive people that I find, and my body will say, I am comfortable here because they give me food. So in the same way as we in winter know that we can die, we can get a disease or whatever, but it's so beautiful to snowman. In our DNA, also, we can enjoy aggression because that gives us food. It's horrible. So what I want to say about this is that the rhythm is not saying about things that happen around us that are similar to what happens to to us. What I'm saying with the rhythm is that it's us ourselves that look for those situations in order to feel that we are secure in that repetition. We are animals that we have a lot of habitudes to. We get used to the things that we know, the things that we know from the past, they are our habits. These situations, we look for them because we want to feel at home. Even if there are bad things, sometimes our subconscious think that's the only thing that helped me to evolve, to be who I am. And this is how we repeat once and again, constantly the same things. So the law of rhythm is telling to me, it's not the outer things that repeat on me, it's me who is looking for that repetition. So that's why it's only me, the one capable to transform that repetition. And the way I do it is by changing the wave of frequency. So if I change my frequency, I see the things different. I watch the reality from a different point of view. And how do I do it? By checking into what are the things that are repeating constantly in my life. When I acknowledge those things that are repeating constantly, I will try to look for the origin of all that and to see why I needed for it to repeat. And once I understand this, I change the way in which I act according to that situation. And that's how I will have a different answer of the environment. So as an example, we would say, for example, that I have a conflict, a discussion, an argument every year with the same person, constantly, all the time. When I know that it's coming, when I know that that problem is coming, so I have to see, okay, I repeat this constantly. When was the first time that was originated? When was the first time that I felt this? So I go there, I try to understand from where it came from, and I ask myself, am I a different person from that person that argued the first time? If I am different, I then can just change the reaction in the next argument. So I, instead of arguing, I just smile. And when I smile, I don't argue. So the conflict is different. And suddenly I get out of that vibration. This is a very simple example, but you have to see what are your own problems to see how to solve it. Cause and effect. The topic for today, cause and consequence. Everyone for sure knows what is cause and consequence. Cause is the origin of something when you generate something, and the consequence, which is the effect is the result of that cause, of that action that we take. Therefore, every action has a consequence. Cause is the reason of things. Cause in Latin means reason, and reason in Latin means the action of thinking. Every action that we do has an origin in the mind, in the thinking. I set an intention to do something, but I set this intention through the 3 levels of consciousness. Not all the actions that we take are taken from the conscience, like being aware of what we do. Most of them are taken from the unconscious and the subconscious, most of them. So that's why we react in actions more than being aware of what we do. However, all of them comes from the mind. And the word effect comes from the Latin ex facto. That means something that came from the inside towards the outside. Ex and facto, something that is done. This word is not talking about the action, it's talking about the product, the final product of the action. This would mean that cause is the mind, is the idea of the mental action, and then the effect is the result, the reaction of that thinking. So we would say that the cause lives in the world of ideas, and the effect is the manifestation in the world's objects, kind of to have this relation. We can say also that cause is the cosmos and the effect is the universe. What is the difference between cosmos and universe? Cosmos is the order of all the things, the perfect idea of the things, and the universe is the realization of the experience of this cosmos going out and coming back to itself, to the order. Remember that we repeat the same things like yesterday and the other days because all of the things are exactly the same, but we are perceiving them from different perceptions, from the different point of views. So what is this? It's a pattern of vibration. In English it's different, but this vibration, as we see, is something that follows all the time, that is a continuous. In Latin, the way how you say to follow is sequire. Sequentia means the action of following. So that's why we have sequence, okay, in English. Sequence, consecutive. The word sequentia comes from the action of following. Then the other word is co. Co in Latin means together. This would be positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, are different things, two different things, positive and negative, that get together in something that follows. So that's consequence. Consequentia is when different things correlate one another in a sequence, following each other. Positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative. What this means is that anything that I do here will affect what happens here. Everything that I do here will affect what happened here. It's a constant. In this constant of the waves, whatever I do in the positive will affect the negative below. Whatever I do in the negative will affect the positive above. Because nothing is really separated here. Everything is connected in a sequence. So this sequence is shared by positive and negative. So that's why it's a consequence. And everything that I do will have a consequence in the next step. Everything is a space, but the movement of the frequency is different times. So whatever I do in this space, it will affect the same place in a different time, and so on. So if this dot here is the mind, what we will have here is that the mind makes a question within, in the negative, makes a question. And this question will be projected in the positive as an answer. This is why the answer will be shared. That's why we call correspondence, which is the response of the inner question. So that's how the correspondence exists. So then from this response to the mind start to exist the vibration. So the vibration creates a path that tells us that everything is vibrating in the universe. This vibration will have a rhythm. The rhythm will be the time, so the frequency of the vibration. This rhythm will say that every vibration has a low frequency, high frequency, low frequency, high frequency, and so on, constantly. Look into the infinite of the correspondence. For the vibration and rhythm, this is eternity. For the vibration and the rhythm, this is like a consequence. This is like infinite. But this infinite, for the correspondence, is just this infinite. So this symbolism will show us this, that the vibration and the rhythm are just telling us about an eternity in this way that the correspondence only see as the symbol of the infinite. You see here an infinite, an infinite, an infinite every time. Positive, negative, positive, negative. For the correspondence on the mind, there is nothing else. There is only one. Just this. Just first one. As for the correspondence on the mind is just this, the vibration can vibrate in different symphonies. So this symphonies makes us see this only infinite in so many different symphonies that we can see the whole, the consequence, the eternity. And this eternity is repeating the same ta, 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 tick, tack, tick, tack. So that's the rhythm. As you can see, nothing here is different. It's the same thing, and we call it in different ways. Where comes the cause and the effect? We have here a question in the first time. The mind says, who can I become? And the answer says, you can become this. And then the vibration says this, or this, or this, or this, or this, or this. And the rhythm says, but if you choose to be this, you will have to be this. If you choose to be that, you will have to be that. Rhythm. This is recorded, so then you can listen again. So what is the cause? The cause is always an idea, a thought, a perception, a preconception of the things. Conception. Here I have a concept. If we have here a concept, because this repeats constantly again, this concept, because it's known, now will become what? A pre-concept. If this concept repeats, I will call the next ones the pre-concepts. And if these pre-concepts repeat so many times, they will become a belief. This belief brings me security. We feel safe with this belief. Why? because the belief tells doesn't matter what you do, it will happen always the same. You will have always the same result. So because of this result, you will feel secure because you know how to act. And that's why the belief becomes a pattern. Remember, pattern means protection. And all this is a structure of thinking. Now let's go into this. Every pattern and every belief is based in an original idea, which is truth. Once we know here that this is the only truth, everything that comes after this will be a distortion. What is a distortion? Distortion comes from the Latin to divide and bend something in two. That's distorted, distortion, to bend something in two. So when you have this unity and you bend it in two, now you have a mirror. So it's not true. Anything that comes from this original idea and is a consequence from that original idea will be always a false pattern of belief. So there is no truth belief. Any pattern of belief, mine, yours, the religious guy, the scientific guy, everyone that has a pattern of belief is not truth. It comes from the truth, but not truth. This is why I usually say, this is my memory, or this is my point of view, or according to my memory, because I cannot say this, what I'm saying is the truth, because it's a distortion of the truth. This is why there is only one truth, and that only truth is in the original mind, in the aspect of the I am. This is why from this main idea, the I am, everything that comes next, all the effects that comes later will be just distortions of the consequence. Here we have the original cause, I am, but then we have an effect, and after this effect we create another cause, and this cause will have another effect, and this effect will create another cause, and so on. And these other causes will be distorted from the first one. In the first one is I am, but in the next ones will be different aspects of the I am. All the rest of the causes will be distorted, and all of them will be related with the self. Because the first cause was the I am, so all the rest of the causes will be distorted aspects of the cause of the I am, every one of us. Now let's see this. We have here a cause, the pure cause, which is the I am, like a pure ray of light. And this pure ray of light, because of different vibrations and rhythms, projects itself in different effects that we call chakras. This is what I was explaining today in the blog, saying this is the sun projecting its light, and through a drop of water we can see a rainbow. What are the different colors of a rainbow? It's just the pure white light distorted through the different structures of a crystal. We are water. This is water. So we are water. We are 70 to 80% water. And what do we have inside? The inner spiritual light. So we have inside this light that projects through the water of our self, through the DNA in our blood and cells. And from there, it projects into all the people around. Mom, dad, granny, grandpa, brothers, sisters, anyone, friends, partners, whoever. This means that me, myself, within, I have the inner light of the I am. But I have lived so many lives that I have distorted this I am through many lives, through many experiences, having different causes. And because I had so many experiences, I am also now an effect of my own causes. I am the result of a consequence. And the results, the effects of this cause that I am, are reflected, projected into all the people and circumstances that I'm linked, bounded to emotionally. Every effect in our lives are the result of a cause that is also distorted. To understand this, we have to start to ask ourselves, what are the effects that we create in our lives? Try to see, according to what you do in your life, what are the effects that you provoke in other people, that other people provoke in you. This is why I have to see the effects that I have in my life around, and understand that everything that I perceive from the outside is just a projection from my inner self into all the rest of the things around. Remember that you project everything outside by subconscious, unconscious, and conscious, the three levels of consciousness. And when you see that, you will understand that the origin of all of them are just an idea, a belief, a preconception. The question would be, should I do something to escape this system? No. What I have to do is to know how to use it. Because willing to escape the system would be like willing to go on holidays, and you go to nature on holidays, and suddenly you get lost in a forest and you blame the nature because you got lost. That's so stupid. Let's say you cannot get mad with nature because you got lost in a forest. The only thing that we need to know is the map to the path again. But it's not the problem of the nature that you got lost. This is not about escape the forest, as I said. We have to learn how to use the map, or we have to reconnect with our intuition to find the path. But the forest is beautiful. Well, I hope this distortion that I just shared with you was able to be understood. So everyone who has seen the previous videos, you will know where it came from, this image. Don't just look into the other videos to see the explanation, everything again. So remember, from one idea of the mind emerges the next question and an answer. In this mind, in the origin of this idea, emerges two things: question, one answer. And the interaction between this question and an answer is what we call correspondence. So here we have the mind. Here we have the begin, which is the mind. The mind from the internal makes a question. So this question goes outside to look for an answer. Remember, this mind makes a question. The question has an answer, but this answer creates a new doubt. So a new question, and this question has another answer, and so on. It starts to repeat constantly, and they communicate constantly in question, answer, question, answer. That's what we call correspondence. So this here is what creates this wave of question, answer, question, answer, question, answer. And we can see that as a vibration. So here we have the vibration. These waves, these curves here in the wave, are the ones that we call frequency. And this frequency is what we will call rhythm. We have here that this cause, the cause of this positive, generates an effect in this negative, and the cause of this negative generates an effect in this positive, and so on. It repeats in cause and effect, cause and effect, cause and effect. Why? Due to what do we have correspondence, rhythm, vibration, and cause and effect? Is because of polarity. Polarity. So nothing that you have here would exist without the concept of polarity. So what is polarity? Polarity comes from the word polos, that means axis. This is what polarity means. Polarity means the quality of being in the axis. Polarity will be this harmonious axis of a movement that we call consequence. Remember from yesterday. The consequence, what is the consequence? Is an attribute of being harmoniously in your own axis. And what is an axis? Is a polarity. So the only way in which you can be in your own axis and to be coherent is only thanks to polarity. Polarity is the one that allows the continuity of things. So why polarity has such a bad press? So this polarity is thanks to this polarity that the earth moves. If the earth doesn't move, there's no transformation. With no transformation, there is no evolution. With no evolution, there is no life. This implies that everything exists because of polarity. A human have also polarity. To that circuit of polarity in humans, we call it Kundalini. We look into this like a snake. That's why we call it Kundalini. But what it really is a wave of polarity. So one of the currents go down and the other one goes down and the other ones go up. So one of these forces goes down, pushing the energy down, and the other one goes up, pushing the energy up. That creates like a vortex in the center that we call chakra. There would be no chakra without polarity. And if there is no chakras, there is no soul, there is no human. So we have a positive over our heads and a negative below our feet, and that's what creates the movement of the energy. Then you can call it whatever you like, because in every culture, every religion, you have a different way to call this. Let's go to an organic polarity born from this system. Everyone knows the symbol. Triangle up, triangle down. This is a tetrahedron, okay? Now you can see the 3D shape of this. Kind of there. I cannot point it very well. So we have this other one down there. So this means that one will go up, the other one, the up will turn to one side and the other one down will turn in the opposite. Here we have like a little person that would be like the Vitruvius man, okay? Da Vinci. Now let's go to something a little bit more organic. This would mean for a lot of people the masculine in the positive and the feminine in the negative. Why? Because the positive goes out, take the energy out, and the feminine takes the energy in, goes inside. Easy to understand it. This is ejaculation, this is which takes 5 minutes, and this is gestation, months. Now you get it, basically. We have here something very familiar. So what is this? Ovaries and uterus. What is this? From the other side, what do we have here? You all know it. So positive, negative, masculine, negative, feminine. So geology uses the poles to be able to move and transform itself. Biology uses this polarity to be able to follow and keep going through these waves. And a self that is working with its own energy, what it does, it uses its own energy for the activation of the Kundalini. So through the concepts of nothing, void, and the everything, through biology, through geology, through spirituality, through everything is polarity. Because without polarity, there is no a continuous movement. And if there is no continuous movement, there is no life. So what happened when this little person has its chakras and is trying to connect, but suddenly appears this other tiny person around, and this person starts to get in love with this person. So this person also gets in love, activates this chakra. So suddenly the vibration that once was like this starts to be like this. So this one starts to get connected with the other one in the same vibration. So this one is in a spiritual path. So it's looking for a higher vibration. This person doesn't have this same high vibration, but this person has this one, the lower one. For this person to be connected with this other person and be in love, this person must low down its energy, its vibration, so it could match us. So it lows down the vibration. Perfect. Now we're gonna do something really worst. And this third person comes and has a better vibration with this one here, because this person here is trying to do so much work in order to get to this one. And this one vibrate the same level here. So the love is stronger because there's something that we call resonance. So what happened here? What happened here? Now I have a broken magnetical field I am not being able to handle. I was in such a high vibration here. This person was in such vibration here that doesn't know how to handle the low vibrations, which means this person had no idea how to handle the emotions. So for this person it was really easy because it doesn't have a toroid very well shaped. So this person only say, bye, okay? What is broken here? The flux is broken. The flux is broken. It cannot be polarity with a broken field. There is no right party. There is a codependence of energy from others. And this is the system that we call duality. So this is polarity and this is duality. What is polarity? When a being is able to be in the axis between its spirit, its soul, and the physic. When a person becomes duality, when that person cannot find its own axis and depends on other people. Duality means that I divide myself in two. I cannot find my axis, so I divide myself in two. And with this person, I am like this, and with this person, I am like that. This is what we call bipolarity, which basically is every human that has culture. Any individual that is not being able to be in its own axis is bipolar. We are all basically bipolar by culture, because in culture everyone was taught to be different with one person and to act different with another person. That's bipolarity. Of course, it's bipolarity, which is a pathology, of course, which is another thing. That is the last step of a really bad bipolarity. But mainly we all are. A person that is in the axis, it doesn't matter where or with whom the person is always the same. So duality of not having an axis, so I am like a pendulum going from one side to another. So this example that I gave with these people in love is what happened in every level of our world. And that's why we say this world is in duality. The reason why this world is in duality is because we are not finding our axis, because polarity is nothing negative. It's precisely to find your axis. Duality would be this moment in which I break my axis in two, so I move horizontally, looking for the energy of others around and not within myself. So this is why the law of polarity is the one that tells us that we are all beings creating constantly movement. Of course, we could be for days speaking about the law of polarity because it's the one that has so many things to talk about. But I guess this is the basis of it. Just to close this idea, how can I find again this axis and to use the polarity? Well, basically to retune yourself again. And how can you be able to tune yourself? Well, that's your thing. This is your way. Each one of you has your own way. So maybe for some is a therapy, for some is like, I don't know. The only clue to that is that to tune yourself into a different or a higher vibration to be in your axis, basically you have to synchronize yourself to something that makes you feel good, that makes you feel, I can do whatever. I can go to any therapy to work with anything if you want. But if once I finish the therapy, I go out and I do exactly the same as before, emotionally, this is like going to a doctor to make a diet, and once you go out from the doctor office, you go and buy an ice cream with Nutella. I don't know, something like that. Generation related to the root chakra. Generation. Let's go first to the meaning of the word. For us, generation is to create things, to generate something, to do something outside. But the origin of the word in Greek language is gen, which is gen. And gen, it means origin. And also this comes from in the European language, which is also gen, that means to give birth. So that's the meaning, to give birth. Gen is related to the generation of things, with the products of things, but specifically related with the origin, from where they come from. So all the words that today we use, like gene, origin, genital, gender, all these words are coming from gene, from this word. As you see, we today use the word gene for many things. It's important to know the word. It's important to know the origin of the word, because now we can use it in a different way, with a different idea. For example, today we are speaking a lot about the ideology of gender, but when we understand the origin of the word, gender is not related to what do you think about your sexuality, is about your origin, from where you come from, which is related with the genes. It's not about the idea of what you feel about sexuality, it's about the origin of where you come from. Now we can understand that when we say ideology of gender, it's weird, because the same word is saying that it's not an ideology. It comes from the biology, the origin. For example, we have also the history of the origin that we know of Genesis. Also, we have the concepts of being unique and special that we call genuine or genius, and also the origin of a group of people that we call, there's no word in English for this, people in Spanish is gente, that comes from that word. So regarding the law of generation, I spoke today in talk regarding the idea of God being the one that generates the things, being the origin of all the things. Something very simple. This is God. That is God, unique. So God is basically this vacuum where all the things emerge. This center of darkness, of vacuum, is the point from where the energy emerges to create the rays of light and everything that is around, which is this space. So that's why this is what we call the origin. So God, the divine, is a constant vacuum that is original. I don't know if you have seen this, but in a different way than we have begin the other laws that were created by the waves and so on. This is the seventh law. And even though I am already speaking about it and I hadn't even begun to create the other ones. So I repeat again, the reason why we divide the 7 laws of the universe in these 7 steps is because our mind needs to put an order in a line to understand a process that happens in the infinite with no end and no beginning. Alpha, Omega. I don't know if you know why to God they used to call it. This is because the ABC of Greece. In times of Greece, they said that God was the Holy Word, the ABC that began with the letter A, which is Alpha, and ended with the letter O, which is Omega. They said this is the whole cycle of creation. God is the cycle, a circle. It begins and ends constantly. So that's why they call it the Alpha and the Omega. Today, for us, would be called the A and the Z, but for the Greeks, the last one was the O. This divine is the Alpha and the Omega. So the Alpha is the mind and the Omega is the generation. Generation, we call it the last one of the laws on being created, but this one closed the cycle again. So that's why it begins again. It comes back to the origin. So generation is the beginning and the end of all the things. Generation means that the gene, the origin, is the beginning and the end. This takes us this idea that for the universe, it doesn't really exist a beginning or an end. Because in a circle like this, it's impossible to define where it begins and where it ends. It's a constant cycle. So there's no beginning and no end. It's constant. Remember, this is a consequence. Mentalism is the only thing that exists in the whole universe. When the mentalism of the cosmos expands to the outside by correspondence, from that moment on, the mentalism will be called generation. And the reason why generation starts to be the main one is because once it polarizes itself, the joints of this polarity will be a new origin. So this origin starts to repeat once and again. To that origin, we call cause. And the result of this cause is called effect. In order to have different causes with the different effects, what we will need is to have or vibrate in different vibrations with different rhythms. Do you see how it's impossible to separate the universal laws? It's impossible to separate them because all of them are this. It's only one thing. As you see here, once the mind projected itself outside, everything that happened after that will be a reflection of the original idea, which this means generation. So this means that anything that could happen afterwards would be just a portion and reflection of the original idea. The whole picture is that everything is in mind generating an idea, which is generation, that projects into the outside by correspondence, creating the polarity by this correspondence from the inside and the outside. And this polarity creates a middle point in the axis, which is another idea of generation, that is a cause. And this cause will create an effect that will bring us to generation. And the way you can transform a cause to create a different is by changing your vibration and the speed of the rhythms. For those who has been religious or rise up as a religious person, we will call this point God. Or for those who are not religious, we will call it the origin. Here there is only mind. The mind projects from the internal to the external, from the negative to the positive. So in this moment is when we leave the Big Bang, the great explosion. So here we come back negative and we leave the elements. So we have all the chemical elements, chemistry. Then we project them, creating galaxies. Then we go again to create worlds, the worlds. We come back again to create life. So we go down again to create evolution, come back again to create an individual. So from this breathing in of this being that is thinking about itself, the Big Bang appears in the outside. And this Big Bang is the one joining the vibrations and energy, creating the chemical elements, nitrogen, oxygen, hydrogen, etc. From the chemical elements, they start to get together creating the galaxies, the suns, the stars. After the galaxies, around the suns and the stars, we have the worlds. And the worlds are those who doesn't have their own light, so they reflect the light. These worlds, through the combination, the new combinations of the chemical elements, appear life. And from life begins the path of evolution, which is the different paths, histories that makes ourselves transform through time. And this is what generates a conscious individual. And this individual will live different lives with different experiences. We are making a very short summary of the whole history, of course. There comes the day when the individual becomes aware that it is also capable to generate through the mind. This being through the mind says, okay, I am the creator now. I transform the individual that I am. I begin a new path of evolution through the inside. I change my life. I conquer new worlds. I go and expand the galaxies within and outside. I accomplish to transform the elements, the chemical elements, to make alchemy. From this alchemy, I come back to the origin of all the material things, so I can become God again. As you see, each one of these dots here is a gene, another origin. This path going there, we call it my, and this path coming back is called I am. Let's see it in another way. We have here some weird people all sharing together. All these things here are original beings. This means that all of them have a self, an I, to refer to themselves, originals. So each one of us, each one of you there, you are an original, because each one of us has an origin. Each one of us has a different attribute of the origin. So that's why we say you have to awake the individual, the self of yourself. You have to awake your originality. We used to say these things, that we have to come back to the one, the self of each one of us. And all of these beings are connected one another through a network. So remember, in the universe, everything is only one thing. But here we see different beings. So we see I. But what happened when we do this? What do you think about this? This is a cosmic brochette of people. Cosmic brochette of people. Do you know this stick that you put different things, food, and you cook it? Do you see these two waves? The positive wave, the negative wave? They are the chakras. And this line we see here is the same dots that we see in these people, but without separation, from the point of view of unity. This is eternal. It's not just sin, it's eternal and has thousands and thousands of curling shapes like the DNA when it creates a chromosome. So all this interaction of individuals is like a chromosome of God. I say I am original is true because I come from the original. I come from the origin. But each one of us is in a different symphony. Each one of this will be unique. So this will be original being musician. This will be original being doctor. This will be original being an artist. This will be original being a lover. This will be original being a teacher, whatever. So this means that in different symphonies, we all have originality. This is why we all have to be different. This is why we all have to be unique, because if we are not unique, if we do all the same things, there's no evolution. This is why we were said that we have to come back to the origin that we have, to the main origin of everything, but through our own originality. This is what we call come back to the I am. And this is why the only way we can really connect with the self is by generating things, generating life, generating projects, generating ideas, generating trust with doing something. That's the way in which we connect with the origin that goes through all of us. The whole universe is connected to the origin, and this is why to connect with the universe, you have to originate things. And this is the law of generation in between so many other things. And if this was not really well understood, maybe you need to look for another originals that shows you different ways to reach this information and go deeper into